Hello everyone, Father Jared coming to you, and just want to share the good news, or if you haven't heard the news yet, I think it's good news. I should rephrase that. The news, because I know many people will have difficulty with it, maybe a little upset, so which is totally okay. So I just want to state, like, if you're grieving, if you're having difficulty with the news, that's okay. But just want to, and if you haven't heard yet, so we announced this past weekend at all the masses, that we will be moving the administrative offices on July 1st of 2023 to Holy Angels office in Sydney. So all the administrative staff will be moving to Sydney, and we have made that decision after many months of consultation with, when I first got here, pastoral council. We talked about where eventually, when we brought together a single United family staff, where they would be. Everybody kind of agreed that Holy Angels is the only place that has a space big enough. And then also, we consulted with the staff. We began having conversations back in November. First we met with individual staffs, and then we began breaking people down into administrative and religious ed kind of categories. And then those groups started meeting. And then, in February, I announced that Jill Heitmeyer would be taking over as director of administration within the family, and then George Schultes would be moving into a facilities manager role. So that way they kind of divide their particular gifts to better serve the family, and then we'll begin the next few months to kind of reconfiguring people's roles in order for, to reduce redundancy and to bring them all into kind of a unified family role. And now, as we go through this, what's the benefit of all that? Well, I think, number one, the first benefit is it just kind of simplifies everybody's life. Right now, I think the offices, me, all the other priests, we're just struggling. We're struggling because all the offices are separate, and so it's kind of like each office handles everything in a little bit different way. And so it kind of makes it hard for them to figure out the way that they're supposed to do it. It's hard for me to remember how each office does it. And also I'm just struggling to keep up. Sometimes I'm just running to each office to kind of pop my head in, and, and then people are off some days. And so there's just a good period of time where I don't see everybody. So with that, there's just this struggle within me because, it's been a hard past few months. There's certain hairs in my beard starting to get white, gray, and, just have not been taking very good care of myself because, I've just been running around so busy that I've been able to work out, eat as healthy as I should, and to take care of my own well-being. And so that's the first reason. It's just for everyone's health, sanity, and in particular my sanity as pastor, that I'm just beginning to really see that we have a path forward, and we should probably just take that path now to begin that journey. And then the second reason is to create a unified office culture. I think there's a lot of gifts at each office, just the way that they interact. And I think we can take the best of what's from each office and then combine those those kind of aspects of those office cultures into one, but then also use each other's respective strengths to overcome the weaknesses that each office has, in order to make that culture better, to become an office that's focused on prayer, salvation of souls, but then also on best serving all of you. And you may think how the heck are you going to serve me better if you don't have an office in my community? And that's a legitimate thing. But we will also plan on having 3 to 4 office hours each week at each of the respective parishes. And we're also going to try to figure out other ways to make sure that it's easier for you to call into the office to get what you need. Make sure forms are uploaded to the website, make sure that we have forms kind of available churches and in different places, so that way you can pick those up. Also that you can turn forms into the collection basket and those kind of things, so that way all that stuff still gets to us. But at the same time, this will also reduce redundancy, so it's people aren't going to be having to wear so many hats, which makes it so easy. As again, I mentioned for myself, the difficulties that I have in just trying to balance all these things, things just get dropped because you have so many different duties and rules. This allows us to simplify rules, and so by simplifying rules, people will be able to fill their particular rules in a much more effective, efficient, and better way. And so since they have fewer rules to focus on, they'll be able to get their job done better, which will better serve you. And then, then the next one is it also gives all the office staff a big picture perspective. So what do I mean by that? What I mean is that currently the way that it operates, each like each office kind of operates for either either their respective parish or parishes, for example, at St. Michael and St. Peter and Paul. And so their perspective is limited to the office that they work through. Now people obviously are trying to look at it for a family, so not saying people in the office, they have seen the need and have looked at the family as a whole. But this gives everybody in the office, and the administrative side of things, my perspective, because I've got to look at the big picture, and sometimes it can be rather lonely. Obviously, the vicars also look at it from that perspective. And then Steph Pullman, who is the coordinator of Sacrament Life, also currently, she looks at it from the big perspective. And as Jill's began to transition into her new role, she's obviously moving into that as well. So those are other asks. So that's like another reason there for that office, for bringing the offices into one as well, is because that big picture perspective. So I'm not the only one that's thinking about the big picture, and everybody else begins to see it kind of from my perspective. And that not only like do they see it like I do, but that brings their own individual perspective to the larger perspective. Otherwise, again, we're kind of limited to me, the vicars, and just a few employees. But if all the employees have that big picture perspective, they're going to see things that I can't and the other people currently in those kind of positions can't. And so bringing everybody into one is going to give us a better picture of what it all looks like. And again, then it's not all on me, which I think was kind of hit on my first point, but like not all of it falls to me now. I'm now beginning to go delegate a lot of those things to Jill on the administrative side of things. So that way, all those kind of administrative things, I don't have to be involved in the day-to-day, like, hey, Father, what do we do with this or that? Or like, what do we, all those kind of things then begin to transition to her, and then she's going to begin to form kind of a sub-organizational chart underneath her, because all the administrative staff are not going to report directly to her, but instead there will just be a few people reporting to her, and then we'll have employees below other employees. And so this is just trying to bring order to everybody's life, and so it doesn't all fall on me, so that way I don't have to be involved in every minuscule detail. And then just standardizing office procedures and processes. So how are we going to schedule masses, all those kind of things, are things we need to figure out yet. But the good news is then we can all do it the same way. So again, there's less confusion. How do we do all those things? And then finally, improve communication. Like sometimes the difficulty that we have is we do meet once a month as an all-family staff, but again, since it's once a month, oftentimes there's some staff that are not there, and thus we don't really have the opportunity to come together. We don't really have the opportunity to just pull everybody together to be like, hey, this just happened. Like, it would be nice in some different moments. It would have been nice if we could have had the opportunity to sit down, discuss, just like, hey, this happened. Now, what do we do? Here's what we're thinking, feedback, all those kind of things. It'd be nice to just be able to pull people together to do those. So yes, so those are all kind of things there. So improving that communication between the staff, but also, in all honesty, like just improving communication with all of you. We'll begin, because as we pull together the different groups of communication, then it'll be easier to know, like, hey, this person is who you talk to about Bulletin, Facebook, Flocknote, instead of having to communicate with 3 or 4 different people for those different respective categories. It's going to be a much more simplified kind of communication tree for me and for all of you. And so that'll help us to continue to improve communication. I think that's something we've been doing pretty good with, having the Vicar's Corners, bulletin articles, and all those kind of things. And that'll only continue to improve as we bring the office together as well. And then also just with another thing to so before I get to kind of a recap and covering some of the things that I may not have mentioned in here, but is just that also on the religious ed side of things, we did announce that to the staff and to the pastoral council and to the FIT team that Jody Blendauer, who is currently the 7 through 12 DRE youth minister at Sacred Heart, will be taking the position of director of evangelization. So she will begin overseeing the religious ed side of things. So again, that kind of gives me another degree of just like someone else with eyes, and I don't have to hear every single thing, because right now I also just feel swamped because, well, religious ed side of things, obviously that's me, but at the same time, it's also just kind of that I have to be there for every little thing and have to be communicated to about every little thing there, that we just have way, like so many people that it's difficult for me to maintain, and like, people send me emails, and then it's like, sometimes I'm going to check my email for a few days because I have meetings and I'm running around, and I just like can't work through all of them in a day. And so again, putting another person there, and then we'll begin to figure out how the religious ed staff will begin to come together. And we don't know how that's going to exactly look yet, so just hold tight there. So just note that the current plan that current office move only involves administrative staff right now. What the future holds, again, not absolutely sure about that. That's something that I have every confidence that Jody, Jody and Jill, who are both women of prayer, both competent women, both good organized, well organized, and both pretty good communicators, and also good motivators of people, and that Jody and Jill will be able to handle their respective areas, and they have my full confidence. And so so I'm looking forward to that, because that also now gives me someone else to work with, especially among the lady on a day-to-day basis, to know that they have my back, I have their back, and it's going to be so I'm really excited about that part of it in particular. And then again, just a few notes that July 1st, 2023 is when the administrative offices are moving. So don't freak out. We got months ahead to figure a lot of these things out. So stick with me. And then we're still gonna have hours at each, both the Sacred Heart and at the St. Michael Parish office. So our plan is to try and work in to have hopefully 4 hours, 3 to 4 hours each week at each of those respective parish offices, to see, just make sure that we have that presence in the community, so that way those who are unable to perhaps travel outside their respective communities for whatever reason, that they have access to that once a week. So that's part of the plan as well. And then, we want to maintain a presence in the community. So a fear that I saw when we made this change at Petersburg Parish, is now known as Holy Face parishes, that there's a concern that the priest presence will be limited in the community. And I want to say, first of all, that's a legitimate concern. I want to say also that we're dedicated to making sure that that doesn't happen. So what I would like to do is to ensure that we have that out there. And one of the things that, and we've already tried to do that, right? So, you probably have seen us at football games, basketball games, other sporting events, community events, that we want to maintain a presence. And, I try to pray my rosary, in Fort Laramie and around Sacred Heart on a regular basis. And so just so that way that presence is there. And then also hopefully if I have a Friday afternoon free, that maybe I say and it's nice out, because obviously I probably wouldn't want to sit out on those benches and outside of the back of church there, but say I'll just be out there, and if anybody wants to come talk, I'll be out there, at different points. And so just kind of ad hoc kind of things like that. And, also then just another thing is that this coming week, so on Tuesday, March 7th at 7 p.m. at St. Michael's Hall, we will have a town hall, and we'll begin with just a little bit of prayer. And then we'll jump into, and then we'll jump into my presentation of just how we got here, what's happening, and the different details we kind of know, and the things we're going to address in the future, and then give you an opportunity to ask questions. And just please note that, and that'll be on Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, March 8th as well, at 10:30 a.m., we will be in the Sacred Heart PAC carpet room. We'll have another just town hall there as well. And whenever you come forward to ask a question, make a comment, just note that, because I'll reiterate this, but just so you know, ahead of time, that state your name, parish you're from, but then also something you love about your parish, about your family, and that will be. And then you can jump into your comment, just because I think it's good for us to focus on the positive first, and then we can get into questions you may have, concerns you may have. And then finally, again, I want to end where started, that if you feel upset, if you're grieving, if you're sad, if you're angry, it's okay. Those emotions are legitimate. It's okay to feel that. It is a loss. I want to just acknowledge that there's a loss there. I can't imagine what you're going through. I know that we are growing up at my small little parish of St. Mary in Philothea. We had, I think for the first 12 years of my life, we had, I had the same priest who lived right next to the church. And then his secretary slash housekeeper. We had like that little office there to where you could go, and then like whenever we joined together with Coldwater and St. Anthony, that then like those things went away, and that was tough. That was hard for the community. That was hard on my family, but at the same time, like we understood, and at the same time, like we were permitted to grieve, but at the same time, we understood the necessity for it. So I hope you see the necessity for this, for my sake, for the sake of moving our family parishes forward, St. Joseph Pillar of Families parishes, to help us to grow not only at, just like in numbers, but also to grow in holiness, to grow in strength, and that the grief, the pain you're going through is an opportunity to receive our Lord's grace, and that He is indeed close to the brokenhearted. So know that He draws close to you in the midst of all this. And I just want to assure you of that. And with that, just know my prayers for you. Please pray for me. And yeah, God bless you. And and then one final thing, I forgot to mention that the second weekend of each month leading up to July, I will be making a video just giving you updates on where we're at in this transition stage. So like, just to let you know, like, here are some things that we've decided. We've heard people ask questions about this particular aspect, and then we're either addressing it, or here's how we're going to address that issue, that question, that concern. So just take note of that you can expect that second weekend of every month, a little video just to help break down what's been going on in this transition period, to help keep you updated, to be transparent about what's happening. And so with that, God bless you. And I hope you have a good rest of your Sunday, or if you're listening to this Monday, I hope you have a great week. So God bless you.